Since the dawn of time, women have endured brutal systemic oppression at the hands of men. Wait, no, not that one. That's an African queen using one of her slaves as a chair. There's far too much to unpack here, and it's very inconvenient to my ideological narrative. Please, editor, use something else. Right then. In patriarchal societies, men have historically enjoyed lofty privileges, such as dying in wars, hunting for food, or voiding their bowels into an unmarked grave as their family steps over their body in search of arable land to settle. Having all the power in social hierarchies, men have long since been given luxury tasks like masonry, oil rigging, underwater welding, or whatever this nutter-butter is doing, and were expected to provide food, shelter, and stability until their dying breath, while their wives suffered the true horrors of staying home and raising children. So naturally, the Libretardis, being the ideological hammers they are, saw this dynamic for the nail that it was, and decided men were the problem. Welcome, fellow noticers, to the Liberal Geographic, your virtual safari where we dive ever deeper into the minds of the politically deranged. Today, we discuss Estrogenics.
I'm Tiante, and people say I'm too feminine to date women.
People perceive us as weird as a couple.
I have expertise in things.
All right, I suppose you get the point. Something clearly happened to our conception of masculinity in Western society. But what? The short, derivative answer would be modern feminism. But since it has been eons since our last installment, you deserve better than that. Less than 0.0001% of all the men who have ever lived have been leaders of nations. Yet many of the Libretardis believe that all men possess innate power and privilege, and that this is the catalyst of every problem the Libretardis has ever complained about. But like any problem, the Libretardis needed a solution. Of course, people quickly pointed out the ridiculous logic behind this approach, so the Libretardis were forced to change tactics. Erase men before they become men.
She started letting us know that she was transgender really before she could even speak.
What the fuck is this piece of shit?
But this represents a very small fringe of the Libretardis, although the rest of their tribe will defend them endlessly and hysterically. The more common approach has been an attempt to erase the delineation between men and women entirely.
In fact, it's estimated that nearly 2% of live births are born with congenital conditions of atypical sex development.
According to the National Institutes of Health, approximately 3 to 6% of children are born with physical deformities. However, if your son is born looking like Quasimodo or Cher, this does not suddenly change how we perceive biological fact and reality. The abnormal does not threaten the security of the normal. That's why it's called abnormal. But seriously, you should probably consider leaving Quasimodo Cher in the woods. But since nobody with a functioning prefrontal cortex was convinced of this tactic, the Libretardis only ended up confusing themselves in the process. Men are bad, but women can be men and men can be women, and sometimes neither. But really, only white men are bad because brown people are victims, and there's no difference between men and women. Don't be transphobic. Trans women are women. Therefore, everyone is a woman except men because they're bad unless they want to be a woman. But don't ask them what a woman is, because only a certified biologist could answer such a complicated question unless a woman is running for president, and you'll get solid turds like this.
Because if it's the woman thing, it's time to get over that. It's time for hope, for change. It's time to be a man and vote for a woman.
Yes, the people who don't even know what a woman is are telling you to vote for their candidate because she's a woman. So it should come as no surprise to anyone that the same Libretardis also thought they could reach young men with Tim Waltz, who, despite over 20 years of military service, struggled to load a shotgun and advocated for tampon dispensaries and boys' bathrooms. Where this big brain scheme didn't pan out for them, the Libretardis spent millions of dollars to research how to reach young men. And who was the face of this effort? We'll show you.
Heading for that small moon.
I think I can get him before he gets there. He's almost in range.
That's no moon. It's a...
Olivia Juliana, this 300-pound marlin of an abortion rights activist, was going to convince men to vote for the people who spent the last decade calling them garbage. Fucking brilliant. Thank you for watching The Liberal Geographic. Please subscribe for more.
The XXXY chromosomes are insufficient because when we wake up in the morning, we exaggerate whatever feature we want to portray the gender of our choice. Suppose no matter my chromosomes, today I feel 80% female, 20% male. I'm gonna put on makeup. I'm gonna do that. Tomorrow I might feel 80% male. I'll remove the makeup and I'll wear a muscle shirt.